Mandalorians and Jedi. Mandalorian doctrine treats a Jedi's speed and close-quarters precision as solvable. Squads layer effects in sequence. Missiles and micro-rockets force displacement. Pre-sighted blaster lanes and flechette, or shock darts, punish the path that displacement creates. Entanglers, cables, nets, magnetic bolas convert movement into restraint. Fire teams rotate suppression, flanking, and capture roles, so no single warrior stays in a Jedi's focus long enough to be isolated. Armor and tools interrupt rhythm at contact. Beskar plating survives, glancing saber strikes, and buys seconds to reach grappling range. Wrist gauntlets carry flamethrowers, cable launchers, and contact darts. The Beskad, a single-edged sword, pairs with vibroblades for short, decisive cuts once a Jedi is entangled or off balance. Helmets integrate rangefinders. Heads-up displays share micro-movement tracking, so a feint read by one warrior adjusts everyone's aim points. Jetpacks deliver altitude on demand, short hops break saber lines, lateral burns create enfilade angles, dive entries drop charges from vectors a blade isn't covering. Campaign assets scale the method. In Legends, Basilisk war droids insert from orbit in steep, erratic dives that fragment formations before they cohere. Shaped charges and thermal detonators collapse cover. Sonic and EMP grenades degrade saber timing and telekinetic precision. Smoke, chaff, and decoys foul optics and targeting. The operational recipe is consistent. Isolate with angles, saturate with mixed threats, bind, then finish before the target can reset tempo. Darksaber origins. Tara Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi, forged the Darksaber, a compact, flat-edged black blade with strong pull in binds and crisp hilt feedback. After his death, the Jedi archived it. Generations later, House Vizsla raided the temple and reclaimed it, restoring the blade to Mandalorian custody. Custom ties rule to single combat, recognized by the clans. The Darksaber concentrates legitimacy because it is a visible, unambiguous proof of victory. A holder can call banners across great houses, converting prestige into logistics, resolving interclan disputes, standardizing musters, and compelling materiel for off-world operations. Transfers of the blade often precede crusades because each transfer reorders loyalties and unlocks manpower for system-scale campaigns. Geometry influences outcomes when duels decide command. The Darksaber's short hilt and flat profile produce stable binds at close range. Strong draw at contact lets a trained user dominate angles where a rounder saber would slip. A small edge in the duel scales into fleets mobilized or halted. Mandalorian Jedi War. Successive Mandalores led clan coalitions against Republic frontier worlds, defended by the Jedi. Mandalorian aims mixed honor through conquest, access to resources for armor and ships, and reputational dominance to bind distant clans. Jedi aims were protective and corrective, interpose where civilians were at risk, sever Crusader logistics, and prevent durable occupation. Fighting reshaped Mandalore. Heavy ordnance and scorched earth counters vitrified plains into alkali deserts, pushing populations into domed cities like Sundari. Extraction and industry shifted to Concordia and other satellites. Scarcity turned logistics into permanent mobilization. Off-world supply lines, captured harvests, and centrally allocated stockpiles under the ruling house. Jedi tactics adapted to Beskar-equipped jet-mobile opponents. Hunter-killer teams emphasized vertical maneuver, splitting swarms with force-assisted leaps and coordinated mid-air strikes. Against multi-angle missiles and sonics, they layered shields, redirected debris, and manipulated tempo to avoid being fixed. When Mandalorians entrenched along ridgelines with autocannons, the Order favored flank infiltration, fuel dump sabotage, and comms disruption over frontal assaults. The Great Sith War. Under Mandalore the Indomitable, aligned with Exar Kun, Mandalorians pursued simple aims: probe Republic frontiers, seize resource worlds, and win prestige by breaking Jedi-led coalitions. Basilisk droids enabled shock insertions. Rapid armor pushes tried to overrun defenses before Jedi command cohered. On the Onderon Dixun front, Jedi and Beast Riders used terrain and vertical ambush. Force-aided leaps severed Basilisk elements mid-descent. Raids on fuel and munitions stranded mounts without air cover. Once air superiority pockets collapsed, command cohesion frayed. Withdrawals through predator-dense jungles turned attritional. Indomitable's death reset leadership. Two conclusions carried forward: orbit-to-surface shock insertions fracture defenders and complicate Jedi foresight. Combined arms packs, jet infantry, guided munitions, demolition, outperform single-axis armor, thrusts that Jedi can fix and flank. Mandalore the Ultimate. Mandalore the Ultimate rebuilt strength via Neo-Crusader standardization. Rank-coded armor, unified training cycles, and centralized logistics under Cassis Fett. The shift moved from opportunistic raiding to sustained interstellar campaigning. Recruitment opened to human and alien converts who accepted creed and drill, scaling manpower without losing cohesion. Early phases targeted outer rim routes and Perlemian-adjacent corridors to measure Republic response. Basilisks remained signature shock tools. Fleet doctrine centered on fast carriers that could throw jet infantry at multiple worlds in rapid sequence. Captured depots, forced levies, and guarded fabrication sustained advance. Cassis prioritized decapitation strikes on sector commands and the destruction of naval staging to slow Jedi-reinforced task forces. Jedi leadership hesitated without a Senate mandate, favoring evacuation and blockade. Mandalorians exploited delay with punitive operations, calibrated to break morale and accelerate capitulation. Momentum compounded as uniform doctrine, signals, timings, landing profiles, scaled across theaters toward deeper mid-rim incursions. Escalation and atrocities. Cassis paired terror bombardment with command decapitation. Terror strikes hit, mixed civil-military hubs to collapse before reinforcements could mass, erasing stockpiles, airfields, and training camps in one window, forcing Jedi to divert into relief and seeding initiative. Decapitation raids jumped carriers to interdiction edges, launched jet infantry borders, and guided munitions against flagships and governors, then withdrew before heavier response, creating coordination gaps for follow-on pushes. Cathar demonstrated punitive annihilation. Civilians corralled along littorals, gun lines compressing the crowd, mass drownings under Basilisk overwatch. Perimeter mines and interdicted space lanes blocked rescue. At Serico, high-yield salvos destroyed assembly yards, refugee camps, and anchored naval hulls. Mass driver kinetics and shield overload devices ignited firestorms that burned out depots and airfields. These atrocities shifted Jedi politics toward direct intervention, while Neo-Crusaders consolidated corridors and rotated fresh cohorts through standardized training. Jedi Counter-Crusade. Revan's revanchists sought theater-level initiative, cut logistics, force decisive fleet actions on favorable terms, and remove high-value commanders. Jedi strike elements paired with Navy groups capable of rapid micro-jumps, interdiction, and blockades. Intelligence mapped ore lifts, fuel depots, armories, and tender routes, so space winds aligned with ground raids that denied reconstitution. 3 counters targeted Mandalorian strengths. First, seed approach vectors with mines, directed flak, and ion batteries to fragment Basilisk waves, letting Jedi intercept packets mid-descent. Second, retake relays and navigational beacons to collapse corridor control and raise misjump risk. Third, board bridges and capture comms spires to separate field marshals from rally masters, blunting synchronized landings. Ground teams mirrored Mandalorian small unit precision. Vertical entry, fuel dump demolition, rapid extraction before armor massed. Against Beskar troops, timed entanglers fixed targets for ion bursts that killed jetpacks. Coordinated force pushes broke formations for conventional crossfire. Momentum reversed as frontiers stabilized and Mandalore the Ultimate was maneuvered toward a decisive battle. Collapse of the Neo-Crusade. At Malakorth 5, gravity-distorted terrain favoring prepared countermeasures. Republic Jedi forces mined approach lanes, layered ion fields, and fought from within the gravity shadow to lengthen Mandalorian corridors. The objective was annihilation, commit main fleets, and end the capacity for multi-theater war. The mass shadow generator, triggered by Jedi General Mitra Surik, amplified anomalies, shearing capital hulls, slamming debris through carriers, and ripping basilisk wings from the sky. Surface shock loads carved canyons and stone needles. Both sides suffered, but losses were asymmetric. Mandalorians lost elite cadres and carriers. The Republic retained enough hulls to control aftermath. Revan then defeated Mandalore the Ultimate in single combat, removed the symbolic mask, and concealed it, delaying succession. With command echelons shattered and the mask absent, Neo-Crusader cohesion failed. Clans scattered. Cassus Fett's logistics lattice unraveled without synchronized fleets. The war ended by structural collapse rather than treaty. Centuries later in canon, Mandalore's mainstream turned pacifist under Duchess Satine Kryze. Death Watch, led by Pre Vizsla, pursued restoration through insurgency, deniable bombings, jet raid spectacles, and the Darksaber as recruitment mandate. Republic neutrality constrained Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, with episodic Anakin Skywalker, to investigation rather than occupation, granting insurgents sanctuary on Concordia and in border zones. Maul then unified Black Sun, Pikes, and Hutt elements into the Shadow Collective, partnered with Death Watch, and defeated Vizsla under Mandalorian custom to claim the Darksaber. With super commandos, syndicate revenue, and fear, he ruled through Prime Minister Almec. Bo-Katan Kryze's Night Owls resisted. Ahsoka Tano secured a 501st detachment for the siege of Mandalore, using air superiority corridors and targeted penetrations to preserve the dome. Maul was captured. Order 66 immediately redirected clones against Jedi command, and the Republic's transition to Empire turned Mandalore's problem into occupation. Imperial policy treated Mandalorians as latent insurgents. Collaborators elevated, armorers constrained, Beskar redirected. When coercion failed, the Great Purge, the Night of 1,000 Tears, followed. TIE bombardment shattered domes, automated mop-up vitrified cities. Survivors scattered to coverts or exile. The Darksaber's custody deepened the vacuum. Recovered by Sabine Wren from Maul's lair, trained under Kanan Jarrus, given to Bo-Katan by a claim for anti-imperial unity, then later contested under stricter custom requiring victory in combat. Din Djarin's defeat of Moff Gideon created a new claim that battlefield logic ultimately returned to Bo-Katan. In the final campaign to retake Mandalore from remnant Imperials, massed jet infantry and armored spearheads restored control of core habitats. The Darksaber's hilt was crushed, removing the artifact, while clans coalesced around demonstrated leadership and shared reconstruction logistics.